It's good to see you all this morning after a very nice evening. We've all gotten to know each other. Okay, we've got a tough agenda to get through. I've asked John to give us a brief overview of what Omega has done for us at Transwest. So, I'll hand it over to you, John.
Thank you. Well, as you know, Omega has been providing Transwest's transatlantic catering for the last 3 years. During that time, Transwest's flight schedule has expanded from 4 flights a week into London to 15. That's a growth rate of nearly 300%, a growth rate which we've had to match. We've had to expand our production capacity at the same speed. It's been a challenge, and I'm proud to say we've risen to it. So much so that we've actually exceeded our original targets. Let me illustrate the point. Our turnover has been rising rapidly over the last 5 years, yet we've constantly managed to keep our costs down. How? Well, there are 2 main cost elements to in-flight catering. 1, the meals themselves, and 2, the logistics of loading those meals onto the aircraft as quickly and efficiently as possible. It's in this second area that we've made highly significant advances. As you can see, 3 years ago, meal costs for Transwest were 35% of their total catering spend. Logistical costs took up the other 65%. Transwest were looking for a highly competitive catering supplier. To be competitive, therefore, we focused mainly on logistics where the biggest costs were incurred. We began by analysing the processes involved to see where and how we could make them more cost efficient. But cost efficient without sacrificing quality. The success of all our operations depends on one major factor: turnaround time. From the time the plane lands, we have to unload it, clean it, and load fresh supplies aboard ready for the earliest takeoff. To do this, we're in constant radio contact with our delivery trucks so that we can monitor every plane's exact turnaround time. Why? Because the shorter the downtime, the greater the saving. Over the last 3 years of rapid expansion with Transwest, we've perfected our timing to the point where Omega's downtime beats every other competitor in the UK today. But obviously this has incurred considerable front-end costs. Let me give you some examples. Firstly, we've invested heavily in a new operations room which is now absolutely state-of-the-art. Eddie, I know that Bob has already shown you around. It's fully computerized, which ensures we always deliver the right meals at the right time. Our radio contact with the delivery trucks helps there too. Our second big investment was in new kitchens. As a result, we've cut wastage by 14% and storage by 17%. Much greater savings than forecast. So through this combination of investment and cost cutting, we've made major gains, as these next figures show. If you take a look at the first year, you'll see that logistical costs were down 9%, and then a further 11% after the second. Now, we forecast that this year, logistical costs will be cut by a further 8%. So, if our forecasts are on target, we'll have cut down the ratio of logistical costs in the total meal spend from almost 2/3 to under half. That's from the 65% I mentioned earlier to just 48.4%. That represents a cost saving of $1.3 million a year. And let me emphasize, all this has been achieved without any reduction in Transwest's meal quality.
Thank you, John. I'm sure there are lessons there for all of us. And it sums up why we at Transwest are so satisfied with Omega's performance. Let's take a short break.
Very good presentation.
You know, Larry, Frank is very anxious to have this alliance succeed.
I know that. I also know he wants a deal he can make money from. Whatever he tells you.
You're going to have to give a little bit on this, you know. Air Pacifica has a very good reputation.
Thanks for the advice, Anna. But if you want to do something really useful, help Eddie get his head out of the clouds. Good reputations only last as long as balance sheets stay healthy.
He learned his negotiation skills in a very hard school. It works up to a point, of course, but...
In the end, everybody has to feel good about it.
Exactly. We need a win-win solution here. That's why they sent me over.
Bob mentioned that you were still a bit concerned about Transwest's position, Eddie.
I am. This alliance is bringing together two companies with totally different business cultures. I can only see problems ahead.
But different cultures can and do integrate. Isn't that the way forward?
Well, maybe. But Transwest seems to place no value on what we are bringing to this alliance. They see it as a way to go global, that's all. They want us to be like them. But we're not. We have unique strengths.